Scientists, they test their ideas to see what works. They run experiments, gather data, and they learn from the results.
Great Scott!
As a product owner, you do the same thing. You test your assumptions, learn from real-world feedback, and here's the thing, you make value-based decisions on what you find out. Heck, even choosing what to test, that's a value-based decision. You're deciding which assumptions are most important to validate. Because if they're wrong, it could derail your product's success. By focusing on these key assumptions, you make sure that your tests give you the most useful information. Consider how Stripe, a company that processes online payments, used this approach when they were figuring out their product. If you've ever bought something online, there's a good chance you've used Stripe without even knowing it. When they were testing their product, they made a value-based decision to track every single request made to their system. And whenever someone used Stripe's service to process a payment, it would send an email to the team. Now, this choice was about understanding user behavior and fixing issues quickly, even if it meant getting flooded with emails. They also chose to use a public chat room for support, despite the risk of everyone seeing when they messed up. This decision, it put pressure on them to deliver a high-quality product. They believed that transparency and accountability would lead to better results. Heck, Stripe even placed a text box at the bottom of every web page asking users what they disliked about the product. They deliberately sought out negative feedback because they knew it would help them improve. Well, this was another value-based decision. They chose learning and improvement over comfort. And these decisions, they paid off. By focusing on understanding their users and making choices based on what would deliver the most value, Stripe grew into one of the most successful payment processing companies in the world. Products, they sort of live and die by the decisions we make during their development. A single misaligned feature, a poorly prioritized enhancement, or an overlooked user need can derail the most promising of innovations. Value-based decision-making is a skill that separates successful products from forgotten ones. And it's not just about choosing between features A or B, but understanding the true impact of each choice on our customers, our team, and our business. When we're in the test step of product development, we need to decide what hypotheses are most critical to test. Should we test our assumption about user behavior? Or should we test technical feasibility? Maybe we need to test pricing models or marketing approaches. These decisions about what to test, they're value-based decisions too. We need to identify which assumption, if wrong, would cause our product to fail. Those are the ones we test first. Here's how you can make decisions about what to test. Identify key assumptions using your value proposition canvas to uncover beliefs about user needs, pain points, and gains. Assess each assumption by asking, if this is wrong, how severely would it affect our product's success? And how confident are we that this is correct? Prioritize assumptions with the highest impact and highest uncertainty. These represent your greatest risks. Design the smallest possible experiment to validate or invalidate each critical assumption. Determine what specific evidence would change your mind about each assumption. And then finally, run the test. Learn from the results and adjust your approach based on what you discover. And just a reminder, the goal is not to prove ourselves right, it's to discover what's actually true before investing significant resources. By systematically testing your most critical assumptions, you build products on validated foundations rather than wishful thinking. And this is how promising ideas become successful products, and how good products become great ones.